We share the full Horsemen and so beloved content. Sometimes that content must be listed, rated, or otherwise compared. But we won't settle for a simple run-of-the-mill video. We need something more. We need the Horsemen recent Slaylist.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Pumpkin Patch and welcome back to another episode of Slaylist. This month, as we feature
Universal Monsters.
And now it's time for Jeff and Joanna to crawl from the deep, dark, black lagoon and give us their picks.
So, what you playing with, baby?
Back in 1997, when the slasher genre was experiencing a well-deserved revival with such films as Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, Burger King came up with the greatest merch tie-in in the history of kids' meals, the officially licensed Universal Studio Monster action figures. And because there's so many dadgum Universal Monster movies out there to pick from, we're gonna let the merch kind of dictate this month's top 5 slay list.
But there's only 4. Oh, I know why there's only 4, because the 5th one is the Invisible Man, and you can't see him.
No, no. But he had but he had a good year in 2022. During Halloween Horror Nights at the Legends Collide House, he defeated both Dracula and Wolfman to earn our top 5 pick, The Mummy.
Oh, hey, that was a 1932 goodie.
Yeah, with Boris Karloff as Imhotep / The Mummy.
Did you know that he was the voice in the Christmas movie, The Grinch That Stole Christmas, on TV?
Yes, he won a Grammy for narrating it and being the voice of the Grinch. You're me, Mr. Grinch. And it's also Boris Karloff who carries this movie. I still like just kind of the sets and everything, the sarcophagus, the scene where he's crawling out of it. But it's Boris Karloff in and out of costume with his expressions, those hypnotic eyes and everything that really carries this for me.
Yeah. And don't open his casket.
No, you just don't do it.
No. So, number 4.
Number 4, this toy actually had like a little red coffin and a lid little bat was actually on the lid. The cape kept falling off. Otherwise, he looks pretty cool. It's our number 4 pick, Dracula.
Yeah, he is a 1931.
Yep, Bela Lugosi. And you watch this and sure enough, the transformation scenes and some of the other effects do come off as dated. Nonetheless, it still looks very cool overall. The castle scenes in Transylvania.
Yeah, when Renfrew, isn't that a player of some sort? But no.
Redfield.
Renfield. Yeah, when he's making his way up the castle, that's still pretty creepy.
Still very creepy.
Yeah.
You remember when we watched that one, Costello?
I like that.
It was very
That's
cool.
great. Okay, but anywho, number 3, what we got?
Oh, you twist the lever, the doors pop open, out pops our number 3 pick, The Wolfman.
Ooh, he's a 1941 classic.
And this film is awesome. It's like an honor roll of Universal Monster talent. You get Lon Chaney Jr.,
The Wolfman,
Bela Lugosi,
Dracula.
and Claude Rains. Yep. This one spoiled me as a kid. I still love it. I don't do gore and I don't need a sophisticated werewolf transformation. I just don't. It's just one of my. I love it when the face is just getting furrier and the underbite and everything, and then once he goes from man to wolfman and he's creeping around in the fog and all that. This one still gets it for me. I love this movie.
Do you remember the poem?
I don't want to be buried in a pet cemetery.
Nope, that's the Ramones poem.
There was something about a moon in it. Even a man who is pure at heart and says his prayers by night may turn into a wolf when the wolfsbane blooms and the autumn moon shines bright.
Number 2.
It's Sting!
Not. No. The Rockstar Sting.
Not the Blade Runner
No,
Sting.
the
Dr.
Rockstar Sting.
Yeah.
Yeah. He tried to do a modern take in 1985.
Yeah, he tried this. It wasn't as good as our number 2 pick, The Bride of Frankenstein, the OG. What year was that? 1930?
1935.
35. Okay.
I got excited for my shirt.
It's very,
It's a really cool shirt.
very cool shirt. Story behind that shirt. That's another, not even Slaylist.
Anyway.
But yeah, this again has Boris Karloff as the monster. This toy was so cool. There was a table that he would lay on, and it would just kind of light up or it would glow green. Very cool. The movie was also cool. Again, Boris Karloff, full costume as the monster.
We got Ella Lancaster, and she was Mary Shelley and the bride.
And the real breakout treasure of this film was
The yelling lady that got told to shut up. She kept going on and on and on. This dude looks at her and is like, shut up. And then here comes Frankenstein out of this hole, and
who's gonna help him? Reach in and pull up the monster.
she looks at him, her eyes look like they literally go cross, and she was running off down the hill. It was hilarious. I thought it was funny. It was freaking hilarious.
It was great. And also the cautionary tale.
Don't go to people's houses.
No. The part where Frankenstein or the monster is chilling out with the old blind guy and playing music, and they're smoking cigarettes and everything. Just having a good time. There's these 2 guys jumping through the woods. Oh, excuse me, can you tell us how to get out of the woods? And this guy gets his house burned down and everything. You don't do it. And then Psycho, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You just don't go to the house. You don't know the people.
Leave them alone. Yeah. Okay. So anywho, this brings us to our number 1 pick, 1954 3D.
Creature from the Black Lagoon with
The Gill Man.
the Gill Man. Yeah, this is the original when he's swimming around the Amazon, stalking the crew of scientists. The underwater scenes are spectacular. Some people will tell you that 1955's Revenge of the Creature is the better film. I could see an argument for that. They do drag the creature off to Florida.
I think that might be the original Florida Man.
It could be the original Florida Man. I don't know, but I do know this toy was so freaking cool because it would squirt water.
Baby, have it your way.
That's our top 5. High 5 on the top 5.
And now it's time for Spooky Thor to share his picks.
Good evening, and welcome back to the Pumpkin Patch. I am the Asgardian Nightmare, Spooky Thor, and I'm here to share my top 5 Universal Monster movies. Number 5, The Invisible Man, 2020. This was in the aftermath of the cluster that was the Dark Universe. Universal still looking to do modern takes on their monster icons. So in early 2020, we got The Invisible Man, and it was actually received pretty well for things like the effects, along with Elizabeth Moss's incredible performance. The Invisible Man unfortunately did not quite get its due in its theatrical run because it took place in early 2020. But it did eventually find its footing, and hopefully this is a sign of things to come in future takes on the Universal monsters. Number 4, Dracula. I mean, Bela Lugosi in the theatrical take on the classic Bram Stoker tale. What more can you say but just goats doing goat things? And speaking of which, number 3 is the original Mummy. Boris Karloff. Once again, another goat. That's not a goat, that's Baby Yoda. But yes, his take on the Mummy, trying to resurrect his old love, Anck-su-namun, after being resurrected by archaeologists who just dug a little too deep. It was very fascinating to me to learn that the name he went by when he was in a more fleshy form was Ardith Bay, and I'll just leave it at that and save it for our number 1 movie. But before we get ahead of ourselves, number 2, The Bride of Frankenstein. I mean, including a sequel so high, it's not usually my style, but this one was just very captivating for an hour and 15 minutes. It's not that hard, I know, but this one grabbed my attention more than most because of its sort of dual stories between Professor Pretorius trying to get the help of Henry Frankenstein and also the monster after he escapes the mob just barely from the first movie, trying to find his way, meeting friends, learning how to speak, and ultimately everything just coming together in order to find and create a new friend for our monster. Number 1, The Mummy, 1999. Now, I know I already covered The Mummy Returns, one of the few sequels that I talked about because of one Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But back when old Mr. Johnson was just being a world champion in wrestling rings around the globe, we just simply had our retelling in 1999 of Imhotep and his forbidden love with Anaxuna Moon. But instead of just these archaeologists who just didn't know what to do with themselves, we had Rick O'Connell, played by one of the biggest stars of the time and still quite the living legend here, present time, and rightfully so, Brendan Fraser. And of course, this introduced a more mainstream audience to amazing actors such as Rachel Weisz, Arnold Vosloo, who I know is also sort of pretty well known, but I mean, this just took him up to this level right here. And of course, the leader of the Magi, played by Oded Fehr, who's absolutely had been one of my favorite characters since the movie first came out, and his name was Ardith Bay. So once again, connecting what I was saying about Imhotep's sort of human version name versus a character I've very much enjoyed over the past couple decades. It's all connected, what can I say? I don't know anything about connected universes and making connections across different movies, do I? So anyways, that was my own little top 5 Universal monster movies. What's yours? And are you like me after watching this video and now you're gonna hop on YouTube and watch footage from the Universal Monsters haunts from Halloween Horror Nights? If not, you should. And you should absolutely find yourself at Halloween Horror Nights at some point and check out their Universal Monsters haunt and all sorts of displays and everything they have dedicated towards these icons. It is absolutely an amazing part of an amazing experience.
Welcome back, JT Wheatley from the crypt as he gives us his selections.
Hello. Your friendly neighborhood host, JT Wheatley here, joining again for another edition of the Fall Horsemen. This time with my top 5 favorite Universal horror movies are in one case inspired by Universal horror movies. First off, a kind of honorable mention I give the number 5 slot is 1987's Monster Squad. A classic where basically it's a bunch of kids up against the classic movie monsters from Universal, Dracula, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, and the Gill Man, who they cannot call the creature because this is while this is a tribute to Universal Monster movies, they cannot use the Universal Monster film. I'll get more on that later. Thus, he is called the Gill Man and not the creature. However, it's a brilliant tribute to the classic monsters. It's so much so that Dracula, played by Duncan Rieger, is one of the best depictions of Dracula ever put on film, and the makeup effects are brilliant, done by Stan Winston's makeup visual effects studio, as they admitted in the behind the scenes that they got the chance to do the monsters that they grew up watching and made them want to become makeup artists. And the best part about the film, even though it's technically a comedy, they don't make fun of the monsters. They're treated seriously and brilliantly, and they're truly scary. So, Monster Squad, a brilliant tribute to the classic horror monster movies. Number 4 on my list, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Now, even though it says Meet Frankenstein, this is actually a great depiction, as not only does Frankenstein show up, but also Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman and Bela Lugosi as Dracula. And they help get the classic comedy duo of Abbott and Costello, released in 1948, classic comedy of the highest regard, lots of fun. And yes, and even Vincent Price has a brilliant cameo at the very end of another classic Universal horror film character, and that one is actually released into the next one, which is The Invisible Man. Released in 1933, directed by the great James Whale, this is a brilliant adaptation of the H.G. Wells story, in which a doctor, Dr. Jack Griffin, creates a formula that lets him go invisible, but also turns him insane. Brilliant visual effects, even for the time. It was brilliantly well done, took highly laborious, and also the great Claude Rains as Jack Griffin is truly scary and brilliant. And he also has one of the highest body counts of any monster, and even modern day. At one point he derails a train, killing hundreds of people. Yes, a truly great monster. But James Whale, this is not James Whale's best film, because his best Universal monster movie would be the classic Bride of Frankenstein, released just 2 years later in 1935. This is, of course, the sequel to the original Frankenstein, a truly brilliant film. And it plays up on the sequel, and it also explores more from Mary Shelley's classic novel, particularly the fact that we bring in a female monster this time. And there's some wonderful symbols here. At one point, the monster is literally crucified. But yes, another great film playing on the politics of the day. And also, if you see this in HD now, you really see the makeup effects down to the stitching on both the monster and the bride, which sadly, due to the technology of the time, you couldn't see. But now you can see that brilliant makeup effects. And also, unfortunately, you can see the wrinkles in the matte paintings. But take what you can get. Brilliant film, holds up brilliantly. But we now get to my all-time favorite Universal monster movie, and that is The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Released in 1954, this is different for me because it is an original Universal monster. Hence why they had to call him the Gillman in the Monster Squad, because Universal actually created this one, and it's a brilliant film in which a bunch of scientists go to South America to where they find a fossil of what appears to be a half-man, half-fish, not realizing that one of them is still alive and has his eyes on, of course, the attractive female scientists, which 1950s, of course, all female scientists are attractive. And of course, she has to find an excuse to go swimming in the Amazon River. And there's a beautiful swimming scene where you see her swimming on the surface of the river while the monster is swimming underneath, or the creature, I should point out. And it's also a beautiful scene because you see the creature, he falls in love, and rightfully so, because the actress Julie Adams is outright gorgeous in that swimsuit. And of course, that swimming scene also shows up the brilliant makeup effects, because that is as an actor in a full body suit swimming in the river, in the river underneath. Brilliant effect, brilliant creature, and my all-time favorite Universal monster. So with that, those are my top 5 Universal monsters. Please click or treat, like, share, and subscribe to this video, and come again to the Fall Horsemen, where Halloween lives and fall is forever.
And now it's our turn. You're getting a double bill today, Pumpkin Patch. Both of us at the same time.
Yes, we're doing ours together. So let's start with number 5. The 1999 classic, The Mummy. Brendan Fraser.
I think we've said it all.
I don't think we've said it all.
I guess maybe we haven't said everything.
Well, I was going to say, Universal Studios in Orlando also has a ride based on this classic movie that's amazing, that I love very specifically.
The movie was amazing. It spawned a couple of sequels of diminishing returns, but always great laughs for the Rock CGI in the sequel. But it's a fantastic movie. Brendan Fraser lights up the screen, and that is the film that you should copy that's the film that Universal needs to copy to reboot the Dark Universe.
Ooh.
Number 4.
Dracula. Bela Lugosi.
Arguably the one that really started the Universal Monster Universe. There were some entries before this, but really that told Universal there's money to be made in horror.
Absolutely, and honestly, that's why some other Universal classic monster movies we'll talk about later were made. Just because Dracula made money.
Dracula, the forebearer of the Universal Monster pantheon, so to speak.
All right, number 3.
Ow! The Wolfman from 1941.
Also a classic, but extremely well done and deserves to be on the list, no doubt.
One of my absolute personal favorite. I adore the Wolfman. I adore werewolf movies, and really, most of the stuff that we love about werewolves actually comes from this particular movie.
Hey!
Most of the werewolf lore that we have in films can trace it back to the Wolfman.
Also, we went to a Wolfman-themed haunted house at Universal Studios a few years ago, and it was also absolutely incredible.
And that was the one on the Benicio del Toro
That's
one.
right.
That's how good it was.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2.
Frankenstein.
This one is so amazing. This also came out the same year as Dracula.
It did, and the reason why it was made is because Dracula made so much money.
They rushed through and got out there. They got James Whale to direct one of the best horror movies literally ever created. But not the best Universal movie.
What's the best?
Well, that would be number 1.
Bride of Frankenstein.
Everything that Dracula and Frankenstein had done beforehand, James Whale stepped it up and did so much better in 1935 when he did the sequel.
Man, it's incredible. It's very well done. It's really a piece of art.
We rewatched this film last Halloween with a bunch of people in like Ultra HD, and the makeup is still crisp and beautiful. And that movie was made almost 100 years ago.
Right? Incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
That is the reason why any of these movies could be number 1.
It's true.
But why we chose Bride of Frankenstein. Thank you for watching this episode of Slaylist. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and you tune in next month because this place is haunted.
Thank you for watching. If you don't mind, please click or treat. That's where you like, share, and subscribe. You can also stalk us on all the social media sites. Thank you for riding with the 4 Horsemen, where Halloween lives and fall is forever.